Everybody, and thank you for attending our webinar. For those that were ready to attend it last week, thanks for bearing with us. We just had a small hiccup to make sure that we could show this off appropriately, so we just delayed it a week so Andy and I could be a bit more prepared for this webinar. Without further ado, as I know we're starting just a minute late here, we're going to go ahead and share our slide deck. As a reminder, if you haven't been on one of these before, I am Will Gordon, the Senior Director of Marketing here at Nutshell, and joining me to talk through our MCP server is Andy Fowler, our CEO and co-founder of Nutshell as well. Just some housekeeping notes. You should get this recording, whether or not you're here now or you have to log off early or you weren't able to make it at all. You should at some point in time hear me say that. If it doesn't get into your email inbox, check your spam folder first. And then give us a couple of days. If you still don't find it, we always add our recorded webinars to our website. Go to resources in our main navigation, find on-demand webinars, and just scroll down until you see the recording for this webinar here. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll upload to YouTube channels there. If you subscribe to notifications, you'll get a notification every time we upload a video. So what are we going to cover today? On top of our MCP server, all of Nutshell's AI features to date and what we might be working on in the future. What is an MCP server integration? I know I asked that question when we started building it. And then Annie is going to give us all a walkthrough of what it looks like and how you can use this combined with Nutshell to get more out of your CRM data. So first and foremost, just covering where Nutshell has gone with AI so far. And really what we've tried to focus on with AI is how you can be more efficient with Nutshell? How can this save you time, make you more efficient sales reps or customer support reps as well? So first here on the list is meeting and call summaries. This helps minimize the amount of call logging or note taking that you have to make after any Teams call, Zoom call, Google Meet, or click to call within Nutshell. And we're working on building more phone integrations for Nutshell, so that list of logos will grow so you can have a call and automatically record and transcribe that right inside Nutshell. Secondly would be our AI agents, which we're actively building more of now, but just highlighting our lead research agent, something that might be a process of 20 to 30 minutes to research the person, the company that you're trying to sell to, can be deduced down into a minute or less just to get more information. I have some didactic examples here of how you can use that lead research agent to save you time and get you more valuable information inside of Nutshell. Timeline summaries for those that have a long sales cycle or an ongoing customer relationship. The company record or person record or lead record can get quite long. I know we're working on making this a little bit faster, but you can now deduce all of that into one summary on your company lead or person page inside of Nutshell. And then last but not least, before we get into the main course of this webinar, is our chatbot. Of course, you can use this without our AI features, or you can choose to train the chatbot on information on your website. So you can essentially have a customer support or sales rep live on your website 24/7 if you so choose. So we have a lot of things going on in Nutshell. We have plenty more to build that I think Andy will allude to some more in a little bit here. But Andy, let's get right to the meat and potatoes of this webinar. In a nutshell, what is an MCP server and why are we building this for our customers?
Thanks, Will. Well, a MCP server is a model context protocol server. So that should make everything clear, right? Okay. Well, we're excited to show off what Nutshell's been doing with this integration with ChatGPT and with Claude. And I'm going to break the rules of public speaking and sort of start with a little bit of a caveat that, this is a demonstration of some technology that's pretty early in the life cycle of, how AI is unfolding. And, our goal is to be kind of at the leading edge of the curve here and to be, to provide tools that our customers are going to be looking for in the coming months. That said, what we're sort of showing here today is probably how Nutshell integrates with AI products in its most raw form. And the work that we have ahead of us is in making this a much smoother process, easier to use. We founded the company really with the idea of taking software and making it easier to use, to save you time, to get out of the way that you can do what it is that you're actually skilled at. That's building relationships, closing sales. And so that's always been at the heart of Nutshell. And so something we're always cautious about is talking too much about the tech when it's really about what the tech allows you to do. So that's my sort of caveat here, because we're going to talk about some of the I guess, geekier bits of all of this and show off some sort of early technology technology that we've been exploring, and we know that this is going to be right up some of our customers' alley, and for others, you're going to be seeing some more exciting uses in the coming months here. So that big sort of caveat out of the way here. What is an MCP server? Well, MCP servers are sort of the standards built around connecting a software product like Nutshell with a tool like ChatGPT or Claude or Grok or any of the other large language models that most of us are tinkering with and exploring and probably using in your day-to-day work. So if you're using something like ChatGPT, right now it's mostly interacting with the web or its own core of knowledge. Where these things really get exciting is when ChatGPT knows about your work and your customers and your pipeline. And so Nutshell's MCP server allows ChatGPT to interact directly with all of your CRM data. So what can you do with it? Some of the early things that we're exploring is getting help with an individual lead. Maybe you're doing some research on a particular lead. Maybe you're looking for some coaching or for some ideas on how to maybe get through a sales objection or better respond to a something that you're hearing from a prospect. Something that LLMs are really great at is working with a large chunk of numbers. So we've also found some interesting uses when it comes to sort of understanding your overall sales trends and how things are looking at a longer term view. And just kind of using those analytical skills that the LLM brings to you with your own CRM data. So that's a lot of words. Let's start to talk about some specifics. So I'll take the next slide here. And so this is kind of the questions that we're thinking that some of our customers might be asking. They're asking ChatGPT about Nutshell. Maybe you just want to sort of dip your toe in the water and have ChatGPT tell you about your most recent sales. Maybe you want it to understand how much revenue each rep closed. Maybe you're a manager and you're looking to understand, okay, which rep had the most sales last month, or to find their biggest sale. As we mentioned earlier, research is an interesting use case for this. You might want to find an additional point of contact at one of your leads. Maybe someone filled out a form on your website, they became a lead, but you don't want to just be interacting with the one person who filled out the form. You want to find some others at the company. So while Nutshell has its IQ suite of data to help you find other people that work at a business, ChatGPT and Claude and other tools bring their own set of research that they can use with the data that you have in the CRM. And of course, they're good at, writing conversation starters and helping to maybe prompt some creativity. And then, like I said, just sort of looking at something like lead volume over the course of the year. So these are the kinds of questions that we think our customers are going to be using and asking ChatGPT with the Nutshell MCP server. And so for this demo, again, I'm going to put another caveat here. What we're mostly going to be doing is watching ChatGPT, or in my case, what I'm going to be using here is Claude, interacting with a sample Nutshell account. And so in terms of visuals, this might be a little bit less interesting because you're just going to see some language models talking back to us, but we're going to show you what's addressed here. Also, after this demo, we'll be talking a little bit more about what MCP is currently able to access inside of your account and what it currently isn't able to access inside your account. One of the reasons, like I said, that MCP is, in the headlines right now is that people are very interested in connecting these tools, but we want to do that in a way that is secure, keeps you in the driver's seat, so that some of the most important information that your company holds, that's your sales, your company's relationships, aren't compromised. So we've built this with privacy at the heart of it. I'm not actually going to show how you initiate that connection, but if you're familiar with sort of the typical flow of when you connect Nutshell to Google, when you connect Nutshell to Office 365, there's a prompt that comes up that you have to grant permission, explicit permission to ChatGPT to access your information. So with that said, let's jump into the, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I have one more slide of sort of requirements here. So to use MCP right now, the AI providers like ChatGPT and Claude currently have these tools paywalled. So to use the Nutshell MCP server, you'll need the $20 a month version of either ChatGPT or Claude. truthfully, we kind of expect that to change, but we think they're kind of sort of metering access to this capability at the moment. So if you just have the free ChatGPT account, unfortunately, you won't be able to connect to the MCP server yet. That's true of any MCP integration, and we expect that to evolve. There are tools like Claude Desktop where the free version supports MCP servers, or if you're technically inclined and you're using a tool like Visual Studio Code or Cursor, you can do the work to connect to Nutshell without paying ChatGPT or Claude. And we have some more information about that on our knowledge base here. And then on the Nutshell side, we're making this available for all customers. Again, something that was at the heart of sort of the vision behind Nutshell when we got it started is that the data that you put in Nutshell belongs to you. This is your data. Nutshell is just helping you to organize it and to sell smarter. So we're making sure that you can take that data and connect it to ChatGPT, and we're not paywalling that. A key feature here, or key thing to note at the moment, is all of the MCP capabilities at launch time are read-only. So we haven't yet introduced the ability to say, have ChatGPT make a lead for you or to send an email on your behalf. Those types of things are very much possible for us, and truthfully aren't a lot of work for our team to develop. We're doing this more out of a sense of really wanting to understand how our customers are pulling data out of Nutshell and sort of doing a crawl, walk, run on this process. So at the moment, all of the interactions between ChatGPT and Nutshell are just pulling data out of Nutshell for ChatGPT to analyze. And just because I saw a question in the chat about this, just to clarify, those $20 a month, that's money that you're paying to ChatGPT or to Claude. That's their own pricing models. I just pulled their current pricing. They're tinkering with that a lot, so those numbers are very likely to change. All right. With that said, Will, I think we're on to a demo here. Oh, and I have to click a button to do that.
Back in your control, Andy.
On me. Okay. So like I said, I'm going to be using Claude here today. Truthfully, I find Claude to be a little bit better at some of the analysis that you are likely to do with a CRM. And it also has a bit of a better integration when it comes to setting up an MCP server here. Works very much like ChatGPT though. What I've already done is gone through the process to connect to Nutshell. What I will sort of show here is that in the little sort of panel of buttons that both ChatGPT and Claude have, you can sort of see your different options. And what you can see here is that Nutshell's MCP server, once it's connected, shows up here just like web search or some of the Google integrations here. So what this says is that any questions that I ask to Claude at the moment are going to have Nutshell's information at its disposal. So I'm just going to start here with a request asking it to tell me about our 10 most recent sales, to put them into a table, and to figure out how much revenue each rep closed. This is where the visuals of this demo are a little less exciting, so I have to vamp here a little bit. To tell you a little bit about what's happening under the hood, now Claude is talking to Nutshell. It's using tools that we've provided so that it can ask things like, tell me about last month's leads and tell me about your users. These tools are currently being used by Claude to provide that information. I'm not going to click inside of this, but if you want to, you can sort of see how Claude is interacting with Nutshell and pulling this information together here. Will I don't know if you have a joke. Oh, no, we're ready. We've got a table here, so I don't have to vamp any longer or ask for some jokes here. So again, just as a reminder, I'm using a demo account here. So the names, the companies inside of this are made up. Don't worry, these aren't real businesses or real people. This is just a set of fake data that we use for demonstration purposes. So Claude went to Nutshell and found my 10 most recent sales, broke them down by deal value, who the sales rep was, made a nice little table for me. And it says that it looks like Sandra is our top rep over our last 10 sales. It did the math, the analysis of the CRM data, and turned this into a little table for me. So, not only can you just ask it one question, but you can sort of have an ongoing conversation. So I see a couple of leads here. I'm going to ask it a little bit more about the quote touch lead. And I'm just going to say, tell me about the quote touch lead. Did we have a call with the prospect, and why did they choose us? So where MCP is able to provide information about leads en masse. It's also able to sort of zoom into a particular lead, particular contact or business in Nutshell. It's able to review the timeline and see the messages, the emails, the phone calls, the activities that you have exchanged with those leads to help you understand how that lead went. So we're going to see how this quote touch sale went, and we're going to see what Claude can tell us about this. Okay, so it looks like our contact there was Mary Martin. It was an $18,000 deal. We had a discovery call back in September, and you can see here what Claude has done is it's pulled some of their pain points from that call. It's pulled some of the goals from that call. And what's happening under the hood here is if you're using Nutshell's, any of Nutshell's integrations that automatically log your activities, like Zoom or Microsoft Teams or Gmeet, or coming soon, a number of other phone integrations. Also, our click-to-call tool will do this. Anything that brings a call recording into Nutshell, we already sort of turn that call recording into a transcript. Those transcripts of your team's conversations are then available for use here. So you can see that's why Claude knows, okay, well, this customer needed better cost allocation. They had trouble with cloud bills. And it's able to see that we had a demo on the 4th, then we did an on-site demo, kind of summarized the overall progress of this lead from the August 30th to the win on October 15th. It has summarized why this prospect chose us. And this is where it's pulling from the various emails that we exchanged with the prospect, the calls that we had. It's pulling all of that information together here, and it tells us about this conversation. So that's sort of a first example of how you might use MCP Server to review recent sales. I'm going to start a new conversation here and actually look at some of our open leads. So I'm going to say here, tell me about our 2 biggest open leads, what has happened with them, and what needs to happen next. You'll see in my demo here, I'm kind of asking it some pretty simple stuff like 2 biggest open leads or 10 most recent sales. In truth, all of Nutshell's filtering and sort of segmentation tools are available to Claude. In fact, as a sort of a power user, if you have a saved list in Nutshell, maybe you have a list of maybe your hot deals or leads in a particular region, all of your saved lists and the names that you use for those saved lists are available to Claude. So maybe Will has a saved list of leads that came through PPC, and he could ask Claude, hey, tell me about our current PPC leads this month. How are they trending versus last month? So using saved lists is a little bit more of a powerful way than just sort of asking about, most recent or biggest deal and that sort of thing. All right, I'm not much of a small talker here, so I'm trying to kill time while Claude has connected here. This is where, like I said, we're sort of at the leading edge here of how these tools interact here. Okay, we've got an answer here. Here's the 2 biggest open leads. Looks like we've got a deal with McMarsh Stores worth $86,000. I got a quick summary of what happened so far, what needs to happen next. Looks like there is an activity scheduled for the 21st. And I've got some suggestions for Lisa on how to prepare for the demo. Some of the proof points based on what this customer was looking for. And then we've got the same thing here for our, another open deal, some basic information about it, what's happened so far, and some suggestions. And Claude has done the work here to bring those together for us. Okay, I'm going to show another example here, which is about how sort of you might use this tool in more of a research mode. So what I'm going to say here is find an additional point of contact for my newest lead. Get a phone number and an email address if you can find it, and then to come up with some conversation starter ideas. And if I did things right here, our newest lead is actually with Nutshell. So this is going to be Claude looking for a contact here at Nutshell to maybe sell us something interesting. Will, you got any jokes?
I don't have any jokes currently, but I do have a couple people in the chat letting me know that the Claude screen share is not showing live. So I'm typing back that hopefully it's going to be showing in the recording, but I'm going to take a quick screenshot of this for a meta of just being able to share it here in the chat just to show what we are missing. If I can share a screenshot. You might not be able to share a screenshot. For those where the screen share is not loading, it might be helpful to just simply log out and log back into the webinar. I don't want you to miss the rest of it. So if everyone else can see it, I'm assuming it would be okay in the recording if you're fine getting the recording on the back end.
Yep, and we also have some screenshots of this in action that we can share. And one thing I'll say while Claude is thinking and doing some research on my newest lead here is I'm using the desktop version of Claude. I actually have the Claude app downloaded. You can do the same thing with ChatGPT. But one kind of neat feature with this is that you can actually use the mobile version of ChatGPT or Claude once you've made the MCP server connection with Nutshell. That is available all the time, no matter where you use ChatGPT. So if you want to pull open the ChatGPT app on your phone and say, tell me about the 5 most important leads that we have in our pipeline right now, you can do that and use it on your screen here. Okay, so here we go. Nutshell found my newest lead, and hey, turns out it's with Nutshell. It suggests Guy Suter as another point of contact. And Guy is, of course, my colleague and co-founder here at Nutshell. Didn't quite find his personal cell phone number, so that's probably for the best. But we've got Nutshell's 800 number, as well as Guy's LinkedIn page, so you can always reach out to him. And you can see what's happened here is it suggested a number of conversation starters. And what you'll often find that Claude and ChatGPT tools will do is that they'll pull some information from maybe Guy's LinkedIn or from a company page to actually put a pretty interesting way to start a conversation here. So these are actually usually pretty cool in terms of how you might sort of think about getting ready for a cold call or something like that. Okay, I have 2 more examples that I want to show here. First is I mentioned that we have the ability to sort of do a little bit of analysis. This isn't a deep one, but I just asked ChatGPT, hey, how does our lead volume look over the course of the year? And in addition to being able to sort of look at a particular lead, ChatGPT, or again, Claude in this case, has the ability to run Nutshell reports. So what Nutshell is doing, or what Claude is doing here is it has fetched Nutshell's lead volume report. It's taking all of the data of how many leads we generated each month and doing its own analysis on it. So we'll see here in a couple of seconds what it has come up with for this year's lead volume. All right, so it looks like we've had 438 leads created this year for a total of 18 million. It's sort of breaking this down by month. It's highlighted our strongest month. So we had a drop in February. Things ticked back up in August, and it's noting that October is not closed here yet. It sort of shows that we had a really strong Q1. Things stabilized from there, and as you can see, we're dealing with pretty small numbers here. Again, I'm just using a sort of fake set of data here, but for businesses that have larger activity volumes, larger lead volumes, you'll find some pretty useful analysis from this. I'm going to generate one more sort of conversation here with Claude, and I don't know if this is going to work or not, so I'm going to start it, and we're going to see if it goes. But what I have already teed up was the output of this that I ran earlier today. So I just said, make a presentation for my sales team, include charts of new lead volume, new sales, highlight our top three sales, include a leaderboard, include some email, tell me about a few hot leads, and make it pop. What I will do next here is sort of pull open what I got out of this. And I'm just going to literally switch from screen sharing Claude here to screen sharing PowerPoint, because that's what it generated for me. So in this case, what I actually got out of Claude was a PowerPoint file that I could download. This was created using Nutshell data by Claude, and it actually made different slides for me. Here's my new lead volume over the past 6 months. Here's one sales by month. Here's a little bit of a leaderboard. Here's our top 3 sales. I got a link so I could actually open those up in Nutshell. Here's some email snippets. These weren't so strong. I think we have some pretty boring emails in our sample data here, and it brought in some of our hot leads to watch. So, this isn't a slide deck that's going to win any awards. I don't think ChatGPT is ready to be hired as a VP of sales here yet. This is sort of an example of how using the information that's in your CRM, whether that is sort of chart data like lead volume or sort of new business or individual things like leaderboards or particular leads can all be distilled into a presentation here that Claude generated. So that's what we've got to share here on some of the use cases that we've identified here with the MCP server. As I said, this is one of the sort of few cases where we're maybe a little bit on the edge of the technology curve here. So we would love to hear from you all on what ideas you have for how we can improve this MCP server and what uses you've found for it. So this is something that's getting a lot of active investigation by our team, and we're looking forward to seeing where this goes. I think I will stop my screen share here and hand it back to you, Will.
And Andy, for that feedback or ideas, is there anywhere in particular that you want to lead our customers to contact us at?
Yes, I might have put it on the next slide here. I think I even put in my email address. Oh, nope, that's on the next slide here. Let's just talk through this real quick. I sort of talked about this as we went, but these are the things that ChatGPT can access through MCP at the moment. It has access to companies, people, and leads. It can find them. It can filter them. It can use your saved lists and reference them by name, whether that's a saved leads list or a saved companies list. It has access to timelines, so the emails, the notes, your transcripts, your logged phone calls, all of those are available to ChatGPT. It also knows about your team, so it knows, which rep might have the best sales or an email address for each of your team members. And then all of the other sort of background information in Nutshell, like custom fields and sources, competitors, and products. It has access to lead reports, like you saw in that presentation that it generated, and it knows who you are. So you could say, okay, show me leads assigned to me, or show me leads assigned to Will Gordon. And then, as we also showed, it can use the internet, just like ChatGPT always can, to find additional information on a lead, find background information on a contact, and help you sort of research and come up with some great starting points. That's what's currently available in our MCP server tools, and we'll be adding to that. But again, just to highlight, those are all read-only at the moment. And I think, Will, this is where we have some information on how to share your feedback. So we do have a knowledge base article on how to set up MCP. We've got screenshots on how to do that both in Claude and in ChatGPT. MCP is a standard. So if you are using a tool like Grok or Gemini that is compatible with MCP, then you should be able to do this. I'm just referring to Claude and ChatGPT because that's how our team did the most testing. But I fully expect this would work for any other MCP compatible language model. And what you'll find is that the instructions for connecting that are really just pasting in Nutshell's URL, which is short enough, app.nutshell.com/MCP. You'll put that into your language model and get started from there. If you find that it works in another language model and it works well, we'd love to hear about that so we can showcase that integration here. We also have our entire knowledge base at support.nutshell.com, so you can reference that. You can talk with our team by hitting the question mark at the top of your Nutshell account. So the screenshot of it here. And like I said, I'd love to hear from you personally. That's my email address. I'll set up a filter to make sure that if you put MCP in the subject line, it's not going to go to my spam folder. So if you find things that work well or you have questions with this, I'd love to hear from you. I will say that our team can probably get back to you faster if you have problems getting set up, but I'd love to hear your feedback on this.
Well, Andy, I just figured out why all my emails are going to your spam box. But no, speaking of hearing from our customers, Andy, I grabbed a whole bunch of questions out of the chat so we don't have to scroll back up and down. Tried to group some of them into one question. One theme that came up is a lot of privacy. So is any information being shared with third-party AI companies without us opting in to integrate? Does enabling this feature grant authorization to AIs to use their data as they wish? How are privacy concerns being addressed? Are there any safeguards in place to make sure that data is not being stored or shared in these AIs?
Yeah. So I think, like I said, we're building this, privacy and security forward. So out of the box, none of this has changed what is possible with, a company like OpenAI or ChatGPT accessing your data. We haven't opened up a channel like that. When you set up MCP, you will be opting in and allowing those companies access to your CRM. So if you don't do that, then nothing has changed today. Of course, those products do need to talk to Nutshell when they are being used by those language models. So when you connect to them, you're going to be subject to their terms and what they can and can't do with your data. I'm probably not the qualified person to say how OpenAI is going to be using the data that you provide it through this MCP connection here. But all that to say, nothing will happen unless you proactively provide that connection. And that is done via OAuth. So like I said, if you're familiar with sort of, the typical pop-up where it says, ChatGPT wants to access your Nutshell account, there's a very clear sort of dialogue that says when you're granting that permission.
And Andy, I think you answered this as a general umbrella, just as it comes to other AI tools. I know we've mentioned Claude and ChatGPT. Some other names that popped up were Perplexity, Gemini, and Sintra. I assume this is available to set up. We just don't have any support documentation on how to go through that, but it's probably likely a similar setup.
That's right. We've got both Perplexity and Gemini on our to-do list to sort of research and make sure we can provide some instructions on how to do that, because those are both products that do have MCP support. What I can say is that MCP has had a couple of iterations as they've sort of worked to hash out that standard. Nutshell supports the latest and greatest of that. It supports HTTP streaming. It supports dynamic client creation, all of the things that these companies are sort of requiring to make those work. So I expect that those would work with those tools out of the box, as long as they have sort of a standards compatible MCP.
Good to hear. I know you have at least 2 heavy Gemini users between me and Ron, who's been asking about Gemini as well. So another question that came in, and actually one thing I do want to mention on that, if you are trying to connect with another AI tool that we don't currently have in our knowledge base, I think that would also be something great to share with Andy, how that process is. I'm sure from the AI tool side, it'll likely update and these will become easier as like one-click connections. But if there's ways that we can make it an easy to follow along process in our knowledge base articles for some other ones like Claude and ChatGPT, we definitely want to do that to make it easier for all of our customers to make this connection if that's what they're looking to do. 2 questions related to access to what we have in Nutshell. And I think I heard you say this as I was trying to read questions. Can it use data in custom fields inside of a Nutshell account? And can it access documents uploaded to leads inside someone's Nutshell account?
Yes to custom fields. All of your custom field data is available. So if you have information attached to a lead or company or person, that's available. We haven't opened up access yet to files. So that's something to happen in the future. What I will say on that front is these tools are great at working with large amounts of data, but there is a limit to what you can put in here. So if you were to say, okay, read every single one of my leads for the last month, and you might have thousands of emails, you will see eventually that ChatGPT will reach the end of its sort of conversation length limit. So the ability to analyze larger files is something that's still on the way from the language models.
Awesome. And then someone did ask about access. They have a ChatGPT account, but they're not an admin in their Nutshell instance. Are they still able to access ChatGPT, or does the admin have to like flip a switch for people?
I actually don't remember the answer to that off the top of my head. I do not remember if this is limited to admins only. I believe that it is, but I will have to get that answer, and we'll put that in our knowledge base. Yeah.
And then I see James and Elena both getting stuck on connecting ChatGPT. I did record a step-by-step. I'm just reviewing it here to make sure it's the right one. I'm just going to share a link. This is a tool called Scribe that we use on the marketing team here. This should be a little bit more of a detailed step-by-step process to connect to ChatGPT. This was via the browser version, not the desktop version. So see if that works for you guys. If that doesn't, Andy has his email right there to request more help on getting this set up. And of course, our support team is ready to help too. And like Andy said, our support team is probably going to get back to you faster than Andy will.
And Will, what I'll do here real quick, I'm just going to, because you still got the screen share here, I will just very quickly share sort of what you should see in ChatGPT once you do have things connected, because I was mostly demoing from the Claude side of things. So when you have connected Nutshell with ChatGPT, you will see this developer mode. This is a kind of a scary looking orange surrounding that indicates that you've connected to an MCP server. That's something that we expect to change as they sort of get more comfortable themselves at OpenAI with integrating with MCP clients. So for one, you should see developer mode here. And then when you sort of scroll down to this little plus here, under more, you will see your Nutshell connection. And so now I've connected here. I called it Nutshell Prod 5. But in this case, I am now talking to ChatGPT, and it is enabled with the Nutshell integration. So what you will see is Nutshell here in the ChatGPT bar once you've established that connection.
Cool. And then the last two questions, unless I missed any in the chat as we were chatting here, are two specific. Can I do this with this new feature? And the first one is, and sorry, I didn't copy the name over to my note document here, but one thing I need to monitor is tickets that need booking. This is usually done in tasks. Would it be good to bunch these together so we can just spend a chunk of time doing ticket bookings? Will this be possible, i.e. get me all my Windsor Castle tickets that need booking?
I think to understand that one, I'd need to look closer at that customer's account. I'm not sure exactly how tickets would be tracked. If they are using Nutshell leads to track those tickets or something like that, that would be possible. But I think I'll put a pin in that one to take offline and see if we can dig in and see the best practice there.
And if whoever did ask that question, if they just want to chime in the chat again, that'll just, James, it was you. Thank you very much. And then one other, can we do this? We track detailed market share data in Excel and view it in Power BI. Both of them can be connected to LLMs. Can we then connect it to Nutshell so that it can analyze our overall market and our specific sales efforts?
The short answer is yes. The longer answer would require a little bit of experimentation. What I will say, of course, is if you've used ChatGPT before, you can drag files onto it so that it has, say, a spreadsheet or a CSV file as a reference. And there's no limitation with ChatGPT on being able to use both a file reference and Nutshell MCP as a reference. So I don't know, for example, you might have a spreadsheet with 100 prospects in it that you want to then have ChatGPT look up in Nutshell. It could use both the spreadsheet and it could use the MCP server to sort of think through that together. You'd likely want to use one of ChatGPT or Claude's sort of thinking modes where it's able to sort of analyze what you've got in the file versus what it's got in the MCP tools. Hypothetically, yes. I'll also just sort of say for those who get this connected and start to explore with it, if you're new to ChatGPT in general, you will find that your results vary greatly based on what kind of prompts that you provide. So if you can be a little bit more specific and tell it exactly what you want or what you want it to do, you'll get much better results. So that might be one where getting a great prompt really gives you a better result.
And we got one more question from James that pulled into the chat here at the end. Andy, you mentioned that would be subject to the AI provider's terms if we use them. Are the AI providers subject to Nutshell's terms of agreement if we use them?
I think, unfortunately, the short answer is no. And again, I probably shouldn't be giving legal advice off the cuff here, but what I will say is when you connect Nutshell to a tool like this, you're sort of doing that through your own credentials, your own connection here. There's not a business relationship between Nutshell and OpenAI in this case, or say you connect Nutshell to Grok. There's not a business relationship that we have with X.com or any of these language models. You are providing that connection to them. So we're unable to sort of negotiate a contract or establish any terms of use here. In the same way, if you exported your data from Nutshell and uploaded it to Gmail or uploaded it to MailChimp, this is something that isn't happening through a direct connection between us and these third parties. So this is really under the terms of your connection with those AI providers. What I will say is that most of them have modes that you can opt in and limit what they do with your data. Some of those you have to opt into. So if you are privacy conscious and want to ensure that you've set that mode in your ChatGPT account, that's certainly a potential. I'm nearly certain that all of the paid accounts have that potential of basically saying, do not save, do not reuse for training the data that I provide to you. That's sort of what you get by being a paying customer of a language model. But I think that's as much as I can riff about the legal structure off the cuff here.
Andy will get his law degree by the time of our next webinar. And Andy, before I move into some of our final slides here to wrap up and just show off some of our recent releases, some of our upcoming releases as well, is there anything that you want to tease from an AI perspective of what else is coming to Nutshell?
Yeah, I think Will, you covered a lot of the things that have been coming down the road that we've just done with AI. All of those are focused on saving time and making it easier for you to do your day job. That's our sort of guiding principle for what we are developing next with AI. So if it's something that can save our users time, prevent them from, say, needing to transcribe a phone conversation or write up a bunch of notes from a meeting, that's where we are putting a lot of our effort right now. So to give a little bit of a peek at that, we have a number of integrations with Zoom and Teams and Gmeet to automatically log your conversations. We are in the process of greatly expanding our phone integrations with RingCentral, with Kixi, with AirCall, with DialPad, and more coming down the road, so that if you're using one of those phone providers and your team is making calls through those providers, you'll be able to automatically have those conversations logged and summarized and made available for review in Nutshell. So bringing data into Nutshell is a big focus of this. We're also looking at things where we can sort of use generative AI to help you do your job faster. We have thousands of customers who use our email marketing products, and one of the most challenging parts of email marketing is not the technical bits behind it, but it's in designing and writing a good message that your recipients are going to care about. And so what we are working on is a campaign creator that can take your website, automatically bring in your logo, your color scheme, and help you craft and design and write a great piece of email content based on your products, your services, your updates, and to save the time in crafting a email campaign. Finally, we're looking at improving the researcher capabilities. So when you open up a lead in Nutshell, to be able to go out and find more information about that prospect, find other contacts, find more information, give you just sort of more context for a lead when you're looking at it. That's what the researcher is going to do. And the last one I have on my list, I'll just be cagey about it. We're working on a sort of Monday morning barista agent in Nutshell, and you'll see more about that in the coming weeks here.
Does that mean I get coffee for free?
Next best thing.
Okay, next best thing. So I did pull up our upcoming releases while Andy was talking about that. One of them, which will be here in the near future, is more phone integrations, like Andy said, more information getting directly into Nutshell without the need for manual data entry. Going back a slide quickly, just to talk about some of our recent releases, we did release our AI chatbot, where you can very quickly, in less than a couple minutes, train your chatbot on your website simply by copying and pasting your homepage URL into Nutshell's engagement setup. We have our Microsoft Teams AI summary. So we originally launched with Zoom and Google Meets, and now we have Teams for the trio of probably the three most popular web conferencing softwares out there. We updated and added product categories for those companies with a lot of products, or that have maybe service-based products and actual products-based products. You can separate them into categories to make it easier for your reps to add to certain leads. And of course, a task report that lets you know the status of automated tasks in your team, of whether they were skipped, not completed at all, or completed on time for your companies and reps there. And of course, in addition to the phone integrations, I think we actually did finally push our new and last rendition of our lead page design live today. Of course, please, we do have a banner there for feedback. Please share the feedback with our team. We've been collecting that over the last month as we've made some micro releases towards this updated lead page, and we've addressed most of that feedback. But I know that change is scary for everyone, so please do send us feedback through that survey form, and we'll do our best to address it moving forward. And then updates to our AI chatbot as well, to I guess we're calling them nudges or activities to allow your website visitors to book a call with one click, or fill out a contact form with one click, or purchase your services in one click. I don't know, it might be over-promising there, but more to come and more advances in our AI chatbot as well. And then again, thank you for joining us today. We do try to do one monthly marketing-led webinar to talk about a new feature or new product that is hitting Nutshell. We also have a customer success and support led webcast once a month. It's typically on the last Wednesday, but we took precedent today. So our next one will be the day before Thanksgiving. If we have enough interest, we'll definitely keep that one. If we don't have a complaint, cancel that to let people go a little bit early for the holidays. But it's a great time to join our support team, learn the best practices and like what you can really get out of Nutshell without having to spend more on add-ons or anything else. And then also have maybe a smaller crowd to ask some one-on-one questions of support to be shown what to do inside to get more out of your Nutshell account. And then, of course, for those that couldn't view the examples here, these are some screenshots. They'll be included in the email that you get that has the recording of this webinar, as well as the PDF. And of course, like I said, if you don't get that email, check our website in a couple of days or check our YouTube channel in a couple of days, and that will be available for you. So Annie, thank you for joining us to talk about our MCP webinar. Thank you for everybody attending. Until next time, happy Nutshelling, everybody.
Thanks, Will. Thanks, everybody.